Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sledgehammers in the Office podcast, where we celebrate the heavy hitters on the job site and in the office. Today, I'm joined, as usual, by MasonOxendale. How are we doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. And then we have our guest for the evening, Mr. Chris Walden. How you doing?
Good.
Well, we're glad to have you here. We're going to start our show with the way we start with all of our guests. If you want to describe for us what you're doing now, what's kind of the previous work history that got you to where you are now, and then we'll kind of fill in some of the blanks along the way.
Okay. What I do now is my bread and butter is like real estate investing and basically doing deed of trust investing. So we own the paper on property. People also call it hard money lending, but I call it soft money lending because it's pretty easy to get it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of what we do mainly. And then on the other side of that, we also do investing. Like we'll do a few spec builds here and there, acquire some land to do spec builds on, or just buy and sell property, get in and out of it. And then I kind of moonlight as a woodworker. That started in COVID, where work slowed down a little bit, so I bought a bunch of tools so I could write them off and started to make stuff with them. So that was fun. Still do that a little bit. Actually just shipped out 3 cutting boards today.
Okay.
And then, I've become a master at laundry and dishes recently with the birth of our daughter 5 weeks ago.
Oh, there we go.
Congrats. So, a lot more house chores I've been doing. But, that's pretty much it.
Cool. All right. I know that when we were doing a little bit of our research, we kind of broke it down into 3 categories. So we'll probably move through each one, and we might bounce around back and forth to kind of pepper you with things on that. So we'll start on the hard money lending, if that's all right, just because you said that's your bread and butter.
Yep.
How'd you get started in that? Because it seems that the big, or at least the conception that I have and probably we have, is that someone has a lot of money and then people are just coming to them and being like, hey, how do I do this? Is that essentially you had a portfolio of people? Was it have an inheritance or built a multi-million-dollar?
So mainly what I helped manage my dad's portfolio.
Okay.
That's kind of where it started. I was living in Texas and I was done with Texas. I didn't want to come back to Arizona really bad because I grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I saw that happening was letting my dad retire because he's the sole proprietor. And he started out in the 70s in Phoenix doing real estate syndicating, like land syndicating.
Okay.
On the west side. And
what is that, real quick?
That is where he gets a partnership together to buy property and then leads it as a general partner and then sells it at a profit. And then pays everyone. He takes a fee.
Gotcha. Okay.
Keep rolling through that.
Sweet. Okay, go ahead.
So he takes money from people who just want to invest with him. And so that led into, he got his real estate license, he's got his broker's license, but he's never really hired anyone to be part of his team. It was more for his personal use. And then I think I want to say in like the 2000s, like early 2000s, he started dealing more in like hard money lending aspect of real estate, doing deed of trust investing to where he would lend money out after he had accumulated enough to do so. And so that kind of grew into where he was less interested in buying and selling property and more interested in just lending on it and owning the paper, because your return is going to be the same every month. It's cash flow every month, and you can kind of predict what's going to happen. It's as risky as you want it to be. You kind of determine what you want to lend on and how much you want to lend on.
Mm-hmm.
So you can be as risky as you want or as conservative as you want to. And it also allowed him a more, what's the word? A lifestyle that allowed him to travel more. So when we were growing up as kids, like we could take 6-week road trips and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was working here and there as a contractor. So with Honeywell, I think. So it was just, it allowed him a lot more freedom to do that. And like when the market crashed in 08-ish, he was more so not in the real estate side anymore, but more on the paper side. And he did get properties back, not very many because he's super conservative.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where I came in like 2017, and I kind of pitched it as like, hey, let me come in, let me help manage your portfolio, and I'll take a huge pay cut from where I was in Texas and go from there.
When you say like, what did you do? Like manage the profile, like just look over different things he had going on, or
I helped do like all the accounting for him and help manage just all the paperwork and stuff. Because during like 2017, 18, 19, there was one year we closed like, I mean, we probably closed 60 to 80 loans or something.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's just like a revolving door sometimes. It's like one week you get 3 payoffs, the next week you got 4 loans out the door. And then like the next month is nothing. So it's just like it ebbs and flows.
Yeah, so you got to keep track of that to know where that money is.
Yep, got to keep track of it. There's account servicing and people out there that, and that's typically where we send a lot of this stuff to, just because they collect property tax, they collect insurance, they send out late notices and all that, and then the payer pays the fee for that.
And your dad built that, lump sum of money to do the lending. He built that through doing the syndicates and stuff.
Yeah, through that. Yeah.
Oh,
Buying and selling land, pretty much.
Okay.
Yep. All the land syndicating.
And like big spots of land.
Yep.
And not just in Arizona, or
all in Arizona.
All in Arizona.
Yep. All in Arizona.
Did you ever have to sit on the land for a while, or it's just?
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
There was. I mean, he's owned corners where we'll drive by and he's like, I used to own that corner. And it's like in the 80s, and he bought it for like $1 a foot and sold it for 3 or 4. So like the money then was great, but nowadays like that same corner that sells to the corner where Fry's is or whatever is selling at $16 a foot or something.
Yeah.
But it's like you're never going to hold on to it for that long for it to create that much value.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Because you'll never know.
You kind of feel like you have to have a kind of like a green thumb for like. I'm always intrigued on how people know that like why buy this random piece of lot versus something else.
It's a lot of reading maps, a lot of reading master plans, a lot of seeing where planned throughways are going to be at some point, corners, and that stuff. So he'd focus on corners, he'd focus on throughways.
Kind of like predicting where like they're building this way, so where might they have to put a road or put a corner.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Where a corner might be. So like one of the corners, he told me that it was one of the corners at Lake Pleasant and Happy Valley. He owned that in the 80s. He owned a lot of places on Bell Road and like just big corners like 19th Ave and Happy Valley corner there. There's a few other ones that they're just like, oh wow, if you held on to that, you would have been the idiot who didn't sell it when in like every time it went up, it would go up a bunch. But then when you did sell it, like if you sold it in 2010 or whatever, I mean, you would have 20 times your money.
Yeah.
So, but from the time that he sold it, it probably was bought and sold another 4 or 5 times too. So.
Yeah. That's so smart too, just because Arizona is just still growing today. So he just got in early and picked the spots.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Now, how did he? I mean, we're asking more about your dad, but like, I'm a little curious. Like, what's the time frame that you would hold something like that? It's like, oh, that's going to be a corner. Is it like over months, or is it like get it now, sell it to somebody else?
More based on the return, I would think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really know how long he held them, but he also had he had a bunch of partners that he had to pay too.
Oh yeah. So
he couldn't hold it forever.
Gotcha. Interesting. I'm always curious on how people who do the hard money lending, how they kind of got, because you got to have money to do the lending.
Right.
So.
Yeah, he could explain it way better than I could. I pay attention to bits and pieces, and it's just always been, real estate's always intrigued me. But I came from an accounting background before I moved back to Phoenix.
Gotcha. All right, switching gears a little bit more towards the hard money lending. When you came in 2017, what was the first thing that you were put on? Was it just kind of more like, hey, were going full bore into the whole process, or was it an onboarding process in terms of step by step, kind of getting responsibility added to your plate?
Yeah, so in a transaction that we do, there's about 13 documents that we have the borrower sign, and their deed of trust gets recorded, obviously. There's a promissory note. There's a bunch of those. So a lot of the time I spent learning what those were and why we use them and what they mean. Because a lot of the times the borrowers will ask, like, what am I signing? But a lot of the times they don't. So it just depends. But you need to be able to answer the questions.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time was learning what those were, why and how we do it in Arizona, how the real estate transactions work. And then, so reading all that stuff, learning how he did all of his accounting and how he did all of his tracking, and trying to help him with that. And then streamline some of that stuff. He still did a lot of pen and paper. So now we're fully computer, which is great. So it's better for me.
Yeah.
So you can be fully remote.
Because I was the pen and paper. That was not fun.
And driving out there to different places?
I mainly just worked. He worked from home, so I just drove into the house.
Oh, okay.
Every day. And then when I moved back, he had 2 or 3 properties that he had repossessed, but just hadn't really got around to figuring out what to do with them. So he was like, well, the market's going up. Let's just put them on the market and get rid of them because I'm done holding them. One was a vacant parcel in Gilbert. It was like 1.5 acres maybe. One was 2 parcels in Santan, each with a mobile on them. One was completely dilapidated, and one was very dilapidated. And funny story behind that one is not so funny, but we didn't drive out there to see him, and we hadn't been out there for a while, and he was like, all right, let's just print some aerials, put it up on MLS. Oh, and I guess, yeah, I got my license, real estate license, right when we moved back. And then put it up on MLS, and someone was interested, called us, yeah, go out there, it's vacant, can't live in there. And he calls us, he's like, you didn't tell me you had a tenant. We're like, we don't. He's like, yeah, they got dogs. And he sent us a picture. They had 2 Great Danes, and someone is squatting there in this dilapidated mobile home. They hooked up water, they hooked up power through APS, they planted a tree, they hooked up sewer lines that went in behind the house and like into the tree well. So there's like toilet paper.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. They had 5 kids, like just professional squatters living off government handouts.
Ooh.
And on the property was like a bunch of stolen construction material, like stuff that you wouldn't normally see at someone's house, like huge boxes of nails, a bunch of random crap.
Yeah. How'd you get them out?
So we learned that APS will not turn their power off because we didn't turn it on. They turned it on. And APS sides with them. The sheriff is like, this is a tenant-landlord dispute. We won't do anything. And we're like, it's not a tenant-landlord dispute. They are squatters, not tenants. And we are the owners. They're like, nope, sorry. We will go out there with you, but we will not do anything. So when we went out there, like this little sheriff, probably no bigger than 5'5", shows up in his big Tahoe with a bulletproof vest on, and he's like, I'm just going to stand here. You can go knock on the door. We're like, okay. But then no one answered. They went, I don't think they were home.
Oh, yeah.
We actually never confronted them. But it got to the point where like we locked the water, they cut the lock, we take all the breakers out of the box, they put new ones in. And
so these people were pretty handy then, obviously, because they hooked everything up in the first place, but to just know, like, usually you're going to get people out of there real quick if you have no power, water, any of that stuff.
Yep. But so we figured they were professional squatters just moving on to the next property, unfortunately. But yeah, so we ended up selling that. some guy who put new mobiles on it and sold them right away.
With the squatter?
No.
You sold it with the squatter?
No. Part of the sale was you need to get rid of these old mobiles. And he did.
Gotcha.
So they're gone.
Nice. So
yeah, that was kind of my task at first too.
In the process, someone comes to you and says, hey, we've got a project that we need a loan on here. Do they have to give you a scope? Or maybe I guess the better question would be, what does the process look like through the life of the hard money loan from your guys' perspective, then maybe also from the person who's getting the loan's perspective?
Yeah, so a lot of our deals come from brokers, people who just are normal mortgage brokers, and they just know that the person won't qualify conventionally, possibly, or they need the money fast, or they don't have enough to put down. But the thing is with ours and our underwriting, we like to see 35% down pretty much on purchase, or based on like what we feel is the real value. And with my dad being super conservative, we're typically a little lower than purchase price on our value and what we think it's worth. Because as we've all seen, values are crazy right now. And so we do our own evaluation through MLS research, and we'll drive it. Driving it's always important because you got to make sure it's there.
Has that happened before?
Everything's been there, yeah. We don't. Sometimes we've gotten lazy and not driven, but we try and drive everything that we're gonna land on because you never know. Like you just got to make sure it actually exists, and you want to drive the neighborhood and be like, because Street View is great in Google, but at the end of the day, like you're really not going to get the feel for the land until you drive through there. So the first thing we do is we'll get the loan pitched to us, basically say we'll look at it or we won't look at it, and then we'll do like kind of a once over and determine like, is this plausible? Like, can we move forward with what they're asking for? And at that point, we'll determine value. We'll go drive it. We'll look at like, if they give us a 1003, we'll look at that. But it's all collateral-based lending, so it's not credit-based. So we're really just lending on the property, not the person.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you have to look at it.
And how long are they for?
Anywhere from 6 months to years. We have some that amortize, like they'll do a 30-year amortization with like a 5-year balloon or something. But a lot of the ones that we write ourselves, we'll write it for a year, and then basically just tell the borrower, hey, you pay your taxes, you pay your insurance, you make your payments on time, like we'll extend it.
Gotcha.
No problem.
What's the interest rate? What do you guys charge, or typically?
Our main goal, I would say, it was 10%. Now that bank rates have gone up and everything's getting a little more, like people are demanding a little more stuff. We've gone up to as high as 12.9, maybe 15 sometimes, but we try and stay. I would say average like lately is we'll try be right around 12. That's kind of our starting point.
Gotcha.
And then go from there.
Do you do a lot more like hard money loans to purchase, or do you get a lot of flippers that are doing quick turnarounds?
During like 2018, 19, 20 was flippers. 2018, 17, 18, 19 flippers.
And you can charge a little more.
100%.
Do you usually?
No, we were pretty much around 10%.
Okay.
For that whole time.
Gotcha.
I would say it wasn't until more recently we started increasing it a little bit. But we try and, I think the last one we closed was like 12.9 maybe.
Oh wow.
But it all depends on like how much they're putting down and what we think the value is, and all that stuff. If they've been payers before, we know their history, so we'll be a little more lenient with them.
Exactly. And you don't need any kind of qualifications to be a hard money lender, do you? Like
so
a license or anything like that?
There are licenses out there that you can get, like NMLS. But yeah, you don't have to have a license because you're just an investor. You're just investing your money a different way than someone else. And as long as you can secure yourself appropriately, or trust that the broker's doing the right paperwork for you, then yeah, you're just an investor at that point.
Yeah.
How much time goes into, if it's the due diligence for each deal, prepping it, sending the documents out, making sure that you're driving to the property and seeing that, all right, there's a structure actually there. How much time does that take you on, like, each property's basis?
I would say over the course of like the first week of going through everything, I would say anywhere from like 6 to 10 hours.
Oh, okay, wow.
And then once we get the documents, or if we have to create the documents, I would add another at least 4 to 8 hours of time, either preparing documents or reading documents and fixing documents, because no one has time to do their job correctly the first time, but they always have time to make it right. So we've learned that you just got to read through everything.
Yeah.
That's why we like to do our own docs, because we know it's in there, and it's our mistake if it's we're going to fix it correctly if we make a mistake.
Yeah, and it's not like they're not like filling the blank documents in resale, or do you have to do a lot of like tweaking of the wording?
Yeah, there's some tweaking to do in there depending on the terms.
Okay.
But not too much. There's a lot of boilerplate stuff.
Okay.
Like deed of trust, we'll update it like as we read new ones from other companies that will send us like a deed of trust, because they're all written by lawyers. So every time we get our hands on a new one, we'll read it, we'll pick and choose where we want to pull stuff from.
Gotcha.
So we've kind of made our own documents in a sense. And then there's also law firms out there that make their own, and people pay big money for them, and we'll just use theirs.
Yeah. How did you come across, like, how did you get in touch with these like companies to call you? Is it just like, excuse me, is it like word of mouth? Or did you like...
Yeah, just people in the industry.
Oh, you just
kinda know.
Oh, they do, so just call you?
Yeah, they kind of know each other.
Oh, okay.
Or know someone who knows someone who knows someone. Like, we'll get calls from people randomly, not super often, but it's sort of like, hey, I know this guy. This is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
They told me to call you or something. But a lot of it comes from brokers as well. And the brokers they're good to deal with. Like, they have really good deal flow, but sometimes the values don't make sense.
Yeah.
We'll ask them to move on.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned that you guys have certain guidelines and try and be conservative with how you're lending the money. Do you have certain calculations in terms of we're not going to go over whatever percentage point? I think you mentioned that was it the 35% down that you wanted to see from most people?
Yeah.
Or are there others that you guys have a list as far as, hey, if it doesn't fit our checklist here, we're not doing it?
I would say the biggest thing that we look at that would be like an instant no would be cash. How much cash they're coming in with. Because the more cash, obviously the more cash they come in with, the more skin they have in the game. But at the same time, like, they might not just have the cash available then. So then it comes down to property value and what we think it is. And a lot of the time it really is like, we need to see it, we need to walk it, we need to go inside if they're purchasing it or something like that. But for the most part, I would say there's really no like strict guidelines. And that's what a lot of people ask us is like, what do I need to do to get a loan? It's like, well, just pitch me your deal and I'll tell you what you need.
Yeah.
Like, what can you do? And then we'll go from there. Because that's easier that way. Because there's a deal in every transaction. It just depends on how risky do you want to be, and how much do you want to be, how much do you want to trust the person.
Okay, so maybe if I were to pose it, could you create a scenario for us that is like, this is the ultimate risk deal that just loaded up with risk as far as someone's coming in with no cash, with...
someone buying the most expensive house on the lot and the most expensive sale in the neighborhood, coming in with no cash and then asking for rehab money or something.
Okay.
On top of it. Yeah.
So they essentially have no money in the game. They've got nothing to bring to the table.
Yeah.
They need everything to get this going, and they have no understanding of the area or what the market's doing
And
at large.
There's people who will give that money though. There's some big funds out there that we've had to compete with that they'll be like, oh well, I'll just go there, and it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
you can go get 90% purchase, 100% rehab, which is freaking nuts. But look at their foreclosure rates when this
Yeah.
shit hits the fan later. Like they're gonna be really high. There's some big funds out there that I bet they're hurting.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How big do those funds get? Like we heard about what Zillow was doing with all theirs, and I know that that's a parallel industry to what you guys were doing, but
Oh,
they
they're
were going
hundreds of
bonkers.
millions of
Right,
dollars.
yeah. But so are there funds that are local that are that big, or
Yeah.
are they national that are that big, or
I don't know exactly how they invest, but I think they're largely local.
really? And they're
Um,
hundreds of millions of dollars.
I think so, yeah.
That's insane.
They probably have money from other places, but I think they're largely invested in local stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I think. I could be completely wrong. I've never actually read their portfolio. I'm not interested in ever investing in them. So, because basically, like at that point, you're giving them your money, and you're trusting that they're investing it properly. So,
Mm-hmm.
might as well just go to the stock market.
Yeah.
But then when, like, let's say they have 10 foreclosures, and they need to pay some, and then some investors want to pull some money out, they got problems with cash flows at that point. And they're just going to be like, oh, well, this deal lost 80%, sorry. And then that's a write-off for you later, but
Mhm.
it's also cash you never
Don't
see
have,
again.
yeah.
So you're trusting someone else to do it for you, in a sense, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because we have the ability to do it on our own.
Yeah.
But it's just a different avenue for people to invest as well
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the funds. I would just never do it personally.
Yeah.
But there's probably great ones out there.
Yeah, they just don't want to put in all the work like you guys do.
Yeah.
But you guys have full control. Because basically, you guys are just retirement. You guys are growing your funds.
Yeah, we have no money in the stock market.
Yeah. You have full control of
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Do you have a plan as far as to scale this thing up? Do you kind of like the trajectory that you guys are heading? It seems that you guys are playing within a lot of reason on this, because usually investing traditionally is a lot of speculation, but you guys have a way that you've seen a return on your cash consistently, and it's been not doing a lot of wild speculating. So do you kind of take that same approach to what you see in the next 10 years for what you're doing with the hard money lending? Is there a direction that you see this going where you're like, I could see it getting a little bigger, having more people involved in it? Or do you kind of like hey, we're keeping it to family?
I like keeping it small, personally. I've been way more risky than my dad will ever be in my transactions. But he's also on the downside of his career, and I'm trying to grow mine.
Yeah.
So, and right now, the market is very questionable, and what it's going to do. Like, it seems to be doing great, and then all of a sudden it could be bad. I get a little scared sometimes when I'm doing these deals that, like spec builds, it's all cash up front, and then you don't get paid till the end.
Mm-hmm.
And if your build is managed properly, then everything's great. But I mean, as you know, in home building, like stuff doesn't go great all the time.
No.
So it's just but the reward at the end is larger than 10%. Hopefully,
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Mm-hmm.
But the main goal in all this, I mean, I hope to be able to stop doing crazy spec stuff at some point. They do give me heartburn sometimes.
But they're also your biggest return.
Yeah, they can give you your biggest and quickest return.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can make, like, let's say you put 500 grand into a spec build, and at 12% interest, you're getting 50 grand a year. But that 500 grand you put in a spec, you might sell it for 900. So after you put your selling costs in there of 10% or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's another 90 grand. So 590, you're in it for 600, and so now you've net 300.
Yeah.
I mean,
How long do
in a
spec
year?
builds usually take?
I'd say like just less than a year.
Yeah.
The build process.
Mm-hmm.
The
And then you gotta
properties that we
sell,
have
yeah.
in Prescott right now, I'm building a third spec I was trying to sell the land, but now we're building a third spec. We bought that property in May of 2022. Wait. Yeah, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I am super curious about some of the stuff you're doing with the spec homes and the development, but I am curious, what do you look at when you're paying attention to the market in terms of, it seems that a lot of people will get on TV and they'll tell you that things are looking up, things are looking gloomy, everyone's got everything is sunshine and rainbows or doomsday scenario, and for us it's even, that's why the way that we started treating the podcast was, we don't know a ton of metrics to follow, but we know a couple. And so we could just be straight up with people as far as, I don't really have an opinion about the metrics. It's as far as it's like, here they are. So when you're paying attention to them, I'm sure you're paying, like, we look at the active and then closed homes and then interest rate. Like, that's all we pay attention to. What are you looking at in terms of the health indicators for the market at large?
I wish I had a good answer for you.
Is it more, do you do it like more short term too? Like, I'm going to build, like, I have opportunity to do the spec home. The market seems like it's in good shape. Take the risk, in case.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the spec home stuff is, you kind of just look at the area and see what kind of sales are in the area.
Mm-hmm.
If the sales are good and they're quick, like, we'll watch active days on market, current days on market, or cumulative days on market, and then kind of like a list price versus sold price.
Gotcha.
For the area that we're researching.
Do you also look at too, like, the style of the home?
Yes.
Like how big a home, the style, like what's selling the quickest, and that's what we're going to spec out.
And then since we're not like hands on into the real estate market, buying and selling, we also rely on what realtors have to say too. But there's really no publication that I read. Per se.
You don't subscribe to the Journal of Hidden Secrets, and they just ship it to only 100 people in the whole country?
That's a special subscription.
Gotcha.
I think that's also why a lot of people don't do what he does, is because it's risk. You're guessing because nobody knows what the hell's going to go on. Everybody wants a for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the market's good right now, so now I'll get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we saw with people getting their realtor license.
Oh, yeah.
In 2020 or whatever it was. I mean, I got, man.
Speaking of
how many licenses have lapsed?
Oh,
now?
yeah.
It's crazy. Just like people who got dogs.
I feel like
And
he's
now
calling me
they're
out.
Yeah, I was about to say, 2 times.
Oh, really?
He had his license in 2020, just got a dog.
Yep.
Well, the dog thing was in 2020.
Yeah.
Now they're just shelters are full.
Well,
I got one out of the shelter. There
That's
we go.
good.
yeah.
We're good. You're good.
We noticed that you guys have your real estate license and even your broker license. Why?
My dad has a broker license, and he's had it for years. I don't remember why he told me he got it, honestly. I think he just didn't want to hang his license somewhere. But wait. I think he did hang his license with someone when he was in like the 80s. And then that guy retired, and I think he just decided to get his broker's license.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah.
He likes working for himself.
Yeah.
Seems like you guys are both pretty hands-on and want the control over what is going into the deal as much as possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Control is a huge thing.
Yeah, because you work with you hang your license somewhere else, they can pretty much tell you that, like, you can't do this deal.
Right.
Yep. Well, why'd you get your license?
Just for underwriting purposes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And to do all the underwriting through MLS and Monsoon, like, it's such a great resource for us.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably more out there too, but for us and what we do, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And then also, like, it helps every now and then when we bought our house, I took the commission and put new carpets in. It was great.
Yeah.
Very exciting stuff.
Do you ever?
Not by choice.
Yeah. Do you ever help family and friends?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they come to us, but I don't like try and earn their business.
Yeah. If somebody asks you.
But it's always nice when they do, because like we had friends that were like, "Hey, we want to buy some land in Sedona." I'm like, "Okay, where do you want to look?" And I think they sent me stuff. I was like, okay, let me set up showings for you.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to drive up there. You set the showings up. I didn't even have to go.
Oh, nice.
I never even went to Sedona.
Oh, wow. Now, do you
They're
guys...
like, we're going to buy this one. I'm like, okay, what do you want to offer? It's like,
we want to offer this. Okay,
I
cool.
was like, man, I'm getting paid like $12,000 for this. What the heck?
So you have...
I was like, I'm going to take y'all to dinner. Okay?
Yeah.
We're going to go to a very nice dinner.
Oh, yeah, they probably enjoyed that.
Yeah. But then again, like, you also have clients that you're showing 100 houses to, which then you earn your commission.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you do friends and family, because you can tell them, be like, dude, I'm not showing you 100 houses. Yeah. So you guys are in all the MLSs in Arizona?
just AR MLS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've thought about joining PAAR for Prescott stuff.
Mm-hmm. Since you're starting to do more stuff up there.
Yeah. Just haven't done that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a lot of the spec builds up in Prescott?
Yep.
Okay.
We have one more right now. And then a lot of my loans are up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you say we, because you did say your dad doesn't like to take the big risks, like you guys are in the same business, but you have your own separate deals. Like, do you use your own money?
I help use his money, or I help him with his. He makes the final decision.
On his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I manage a portfolio for my father-in-law,
mm-hmm.
who just needed to put money elsewhere, and I finally convinced him to give me some. So I take a management fee from that, and then.
How long did that take to convince your father-in-law to be like, "Hey, look, I know what I'm doing. I swear to God."
Not too long. It kind of came up like, so in 2019 and 2020, I think my dad was tapped. We had no more money, but we were seeing deals weekly. There was just so much activity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, crap, where do I find more money? So I asked my father-in-law, I was like, hey, we got these deals coming up. They're good. Like, my dad would do them, but he can't.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do them? And then that's kind of how that started. I was like, I'm going to get you 10%. I'm going to take a percentage of that, and you don't have to think about it.
Okay. So that's kind of how you started? You took your dad's money, took that management fee, and then just
my father-in-law.
Yeah, and then you just added that up. Are you now using your own money?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Now using our own. We're using some of our own for that, some of it, and
yeah, depending on how big the deal is. But yeah,
super cool. In terms of the spec builds that are up in, was it Prescott?
Yep. Prescott Valley. Yep.
What kind of spec builds are you guys doing? Because obviously they can vary in size, and then how hands-on do you get with those? Yeah,
so the first two we closed in July and September of 23.
Okay.
And the first one was 2,750 square feet, 4-bed, 3-bath. And then the second one was right next door. The first one had a wraparound porch, which was pretty cool. The one right next door, and these are all on 2 acres, private well, septic. Second one next door was like 2,900 square feet, I think, 2,980. So just under 3,000. Again, 4-bed, 3-bath, which was kind of the bread and butter for that area. And the area's really seen an influx of California buyers coming in with cash, being like, "Holy crap! I can have almost 3,000 square feet on 2 acres. Like, here you go, $850,000. Just whatever. I just sold my house for." My shack for $3 million.
Now you guys forgot to turn my mic off.
We're still adjusting.
There we go.
Mics.
Yeah. Well, my drink is so clanky, and I lost my train of thought. When you build the spec homes, how come you don't sell it with your real estate license?
That was kind of part of how when I got into it, it was kind of like, hey, here's the land that's available. I'm letting you in. I'm going to project manage your build, and this is my realtor. He's going to sell it for you. And that's the first two, how that happened.
Okay. So you never personally sold them?
No.
Okay.
I was involved in the process as a seller, but I was not involved as a realtor.
Gotcha.
Which will not be the case in the third one, because it can do a much better job. I hope he's not listening.
Don't worry, we don't have a huge audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would not have done it how I would have done it.
Yeah. Well, then that's
and I
just
paid
extra
him
money.
2.5%.
Exactly, and that's in
So,
your pocket.
Yeah, 23 grand or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of pissed me off. I'm like, can you please update the listing? Like, you have one photo.
Oh shit.
Can we at least put the floor plan in there? Like, come on. You live right down the street.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Go by, take a picture of it.
Yeah. So the third one we're building now, we should have permits hopefully by the end of the month. It's more of a farmhouse, I'd say.
Yeah.
Smaller. It's got a big tandem garage, 4-car, on 2 acres in a corner, kind of elevated, back state land.
Yeah, because you guys don't wait till it's done to list it, right?
We'll list it like right after paint, pretty much.
Oh, okay. Because I've seen them before where there's spec builds where they're still in the framing process. Yeah. But they do have other similar spec builds in the area.
Or the renderings or stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. So this one we might list a little earlier because it's more of like the barn-dominium. Not really barn-dominium, but more like the farmhouse, barn-do style look. It's not really like a ranch or anything. Or like anything like that. So we might list it earlier, but they're building one in a different subdivision, same builder, same house. So I'll let them do the marketing for me.
Yeah.
They're like 2 months ahead of me.
Yeah, so this is more like on your developing side of the business, not really.
Yeah, nice. I wanted to sell the 2 acres as a 2-acre parcel, but it just wouldn't sell.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I don't know if that was they were just overzealous on what they thought they could get for it as a realtor, or he just didn't give a shit. I have no idea. And I will never know.
But that's why you're
I held on to it, and that's why it's like now we're going to build our way out, which is what I did not want to do. Because I would have built on that parcel first because it's the best one.
Oh, gotcha.
And then sold the middle parcel that's sandwiched between the others. So, hindsight, I would have done it slightly different, but we now have the funds to build it, so we're going to just build it. Yeah, because it works out.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue doing the builds like that up there, or is this one kind of like, we've done well with what we've got, but I think I'm done doing this?
I would do more.
It sounds way more fun than doing the hard money stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Even though a little more stressful, too.
It's way stressful. Way more stressful. Yeah. It's like a lot of reviewing everything and being like, hey, why are you paying framers $9 a foot? Like, can we get a different quote? Like, you kind of have to trust the builder that, since I'm not a builder or GC, I have to trust that the builder that I've been told to hire, this is for the others, but I like him. He's good. I have to trust that they're getting the right quotes. But at the same time, he's like, he doesn't care if he's paying an extra 10 grand for a sub, but he knows the guy does good work and he's not going to get a warranty claim later. It's like, well, there could be a guy who's 10 grand less that's going to do a good enough job to not get a warranty later too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where not being a GC sucks.
Yeah. And when you say, like, why you were forced to hire that guy?
I wasn't forced to, but it was like
suggested.
Highly suggested.
Gotcha.
It's kind of part of the whole situation, which I see now is a little incestuous.
Yeah. Because do you own those? Do you own these properties of land? Gotcha. And then
I bought them.
Yeah. Okay.
I bought them based on like the suggestion. They're like, we're gonna buy them if you don't. I was like, but we don't have the money. I was like, okay. I mean, I'm interested. Like, I want to build specs. I think it's lucrative. And I was like, well, I'll just do 2 at a time. Like, let's save some costs, which did not save any costs. Maybe a porta potty. We had 1 porta potty.
So did you go in with these people who were selling them?
So we saved $100 a month. Yeah. Not worth it to do 2 at once. Little did I know. You don't save any delivery fees.
No.
You don't save any lumber package stuff. Just save on 1
and
porta.
All the trades are still going to charge you the same, whether or not they're going next door to work or if they're going across town.
It's like, hey, I'm going to keep you in the area for a month. Like, come on.
Yeah.
A little break. Nope. Just the porta potty.
Okay, so something I think we didn't touch on, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. You had an accounting career before you got into all of this, correct? Which, to understand accounting, and it sounds like it was at...
It was a desk job.
Okay, but you had you have to know everything with accounting. Then you step over to the hard money lending side. You're learning everything with real estate.
Yeah.
Learning a brand new business. Then you're stepping over to this spec home side. Now you're learning all the details with that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to pile on top of that the woodworking side.
Yeah. Basically.
So, do you just need like constant brain stimulation to keep you going?
Yeah. I can't sit still.
Because I was going to say, like,
I won't nap. Like, there's no naps in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I got to be doing something. And at this point, I always have something to do.
Yeah.
Whether it's woodworking or dishes or updating spreadsheets or doing a diaper.
So how much did you, I want to move into the woodworking in a second, but how much did you have to really dive into even just the building process to understand what's going on? Because like you mentioned, hey, what's going on with the $9 a square foot on the framing?
Right. And that was just me learning over time, like that's high.
Through different deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're reading like back through invoices because I do a lot of their funding. Like right now I have 4 loans with them building specs.
Okay.
They're not my specs, but I'm funding the build. So I see all those invoices too. And I'm like doing calculations. I'm like, what the? This is 650, 740. Like, why is this quote 850 for mine? And it's like, it's a smaller house. Like, what's going on? So it's just learning through that. Why am I paying 12 grand to tile 1 shower? Like, come on, let's get another quote, please.
Yeah.
So then you were in the unique position just to say, hey, I've got something to reference compared to someone else who might be stepping into it. It's like $9 a square foot is gospel. And there's nothing else besides if they actually got on the phone to call John's general contracting down the road to say, hey, John, can you tell me your pricing? And most likely he's going to be like, who are you? No.
Yeah, I'd say if you trust the builder to do the right stuff, then by all means go for it. But it doesn't hurt to get second bids on your own. Like you have all the plans. You could send the plans off to a lumber company and get a quote for a lumber package and trusses and everything because all your calculations and everything's in those plans.
Yeah.
I did that and learned that it was right in line. So, but then there's like, as you start going through other builds too, it's like, hey, let's not use large format tile that costs an arm and a leg to put down. Like, let's use just normal 12 by 24 crap for the bathroom. We don't need 24 by 48s. Like,
but it looks so much better.
they look great, but not for a spec home. In my opinion, you're still going to get the same sale price. And then someone's not going to come like, oh, I wish this was large format tile.
Because if they really want it, they'll hire someone to come in, tear it out, and put it in.
Yeah, if they're paying $1 million for a home they didn't build, I'm sure they have another 10 or 12 grand they can redo a bathroom for, or 20 or whatever it is.
Yeah. All right, and then...
And that's when you give them Thaddeus's number to redo the bathroom that you already
great
built.
Guy.
Yeah.
I actually just gave your number to someone for drywall, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, Ryan?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
In process with them right now.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's what you should be in his ear. Be like, no, just get the little stuff. You know, make him keep lowering it down, so then they call you to redo it.
Yeah, you need the bigger jobs.
That's what I want.
If you got
it's a lot
your
more
license,
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, you need the bigger jobs.
Exactly.
It's a lot
You need
more.
to get in on one of these spec homes.
Yeah, if you could. If we do one here, I mean, try. We were thinking about doing specs on this new property we're buying, but I think we're just going to try and flip the land instead.
What makes that decision for you? Like,
just so.
is it the
this
cost that does it, or is it the more of the profit?
How quickly you can get.
Okay.
Yeah, more of like a time value of money thing. So like, for example, like the land we're buying, it's 2.2 acres with a mobile on it. It's a zone RU43, so you can split it, and it's got city water. It's on a county island, so you can kind of do whatever you want with it. They grossly underlisted it, so we're paying full price that they wanted, but we can probably just put it back on the market as a parcel and sell it. So we're going to try that.
Gotcha.
As we're trying that, we're going to also start going through the process of splitting it, because we could probably split it to where the mobile's on one parcel and then a vacant parcel for the other, sell them separately.
Mm-hmm.
And then if that doesn't work, which it hopefully will by then we start doing the spec.
Yeah, it's just
Throw like an old floor plan up on the MLS and hey, we're a home builder, come, we can do custom, what do you want? Type thing.
Oh, exactly.
But the guy who I'm now partnering with is our builder for our personal residence. And he's like, I think we can just sell it. Like, let's turn this in 60 days and make money on it. I was like, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. When you say make money, does it have to be like a certain amount?
And we're not looking for specific numbers either. But
Yeah, I mean, like I felt like you buy this property and then after fees and stuff, you make $1,000. It was worth it.
No.
Okay.
It's like this, like larger sum.
Well, that's what I mean. Like what? Yeah.
I would say at least 20%.
Okay.
To start considering that.
Yeah. Okay. So you essentially buy pieces of land that you have a good chance of maybe just putting it back on the market and selling it, and if it doesn't, look into other options as you're trying to sell it.
Yeah, and this particular parcel has a lot of different uses for it.
Gotcha.
So it lends itself to just trying a few things.
Gotcha.
And if you can make your money the quickest, make it back plus some. Like there's more money on the table for you to build a spec home, but now you're in it for a year or more, and
more your funds are tied up.
Yeah, now your funds are tied up for that year, and yeah, you might make another 25 grand, but how much time did you spend making that?
Yeah, over a year. Yeah,
or 100 grand even. Like, I mean, or where you could have taken that money before and reinvested it into another one to make even double that later.
Yeah.
Like,
what? Who looks for the properties? Do you have somebody, or is it like you and your dad that just sift through it, randomly find stuff?
This one, they just came to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're like, hey,
they bought in the area.
I think they just don't have cash.
Gotcha.
And I have cash to place, so this one, like, I'll be the money and they'll be the work, and then we'll figure out a split that's fair at the end. I guess I have a lot more risk than that.
Yeah. Do you ever take part in like the wholesale? Like somebody buys it and comes to you?
I've never done that.
No.
Nope.
You
like flip the contract?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
No, you just partner because they need money.
Looked into doing that once, and the person I dealt with was the largest snake, bad hombre.
Oh yeah.
And that just turned me off from it.
They're snakes, or they don't know what the hell they're doing.
I was like, this is the value. Like, you're asking for this on top of that. Like, it needs this much work, not that much work. And then you like walk through with his contractor, and he's like, oh yeah, that crack in the foundation, we'll just put some caulk in that, paint it over. I was like, okay, nope, no, this is not for me. I am not a flipper.
Yeah,
this is not my thing. Like, I need a little more integrity than that.
Yeah.
So I think we put an offer in on it anyway because we were going to find our own contractor, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
He basically was like, I asked too many questions, and normally people don't.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like getting all pissed at me. I was like, okay, so you're punishing me for being sophisticated?
Yep.
Like, who do you want? Are you just trying to fleece people? Like, what are you doing? It's like, okay, we do not see eye to eye. I will
Yeah.
Like, sorry, I asked important questions about the title and stuff. Jesus. This HOA lien. Like, I don't want to assume that. And I can't assume that. So.
Remind me to tell you a story once we get off the podcast. But I don't want to share it right now and it go out everywhere. But I do have more of a selfish question, and then speak in generalities if you want to. I'm not looking for straight percentages or dollar amounts or anything like that. But in terms of, we've talked before in regards to how some general contractors quote things out, and I think I told you about how I've had some experience with those numbers where when you're dealing with general contractors that are building on some of those spec homes, are they doing a cost plus? So adding up the cost of the material subcontractors, they have a markup on top of that? Or do they have, hey, here's the cost, we have a line item for our management, some kind of combination of both?
Mhm.
What do you see when you deal with general contractor or different contractors?
The ones I do in Prescott, it's a builder fee,
Okay,
so a management fee.
so I'm just going to throw fake numbers out there. If Mason decides, hey, you know what, we've got a ton of money, we're going to go buy this property. Thaddeus, I'm going to pay you a $50,000 builder fee to take care of this, and then whatever the cost is of the project, I'm just taking care of managing the whole thing. Once it's done, we sell it, and then the way you described it, there's been the payments that's gone on throughout the year. He gets the fee upon the sale, all that good stuff, and then I walk away with the, in our case, the $50,000 for the management fee.
Yeah, the fee would be paid in like draws.
Okay.
Probably. Like at certain stages.
Right,
you need
it's
to
not
be-
just, hey, fork it over and then I'm heading to Mexico.
Yeah.
No,
See ya.
it's like after foundations
Yep.
poured, you take 10 grand or whatever.
Yep.
And then after framing's done, you take another 10.
Drywall, cabinets, paint.
Just kind of like the big
Yep,
big parts is when you take your draw.
gotcha. Okay.
And then we've seen them like the ones I'm paying are like 10% of build cost
Okay.
total, which I feel is a little low. I feel like 12 to 15% is probably fair, but anything, if it were for me a personal thing, like 20% would be high. But it also depends on the breadth of the project too. 20% on a $2 million cost is a lot more than 20% on 500,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Just depends on, and that $2 million house is going to be way more complicated than the $500,000 one.
Yep.
So it just kind of depends. But I've never done a cost plus.
Okay.
I would be not opposed to that at all. Because then I know, like, I'm paying what the contractor's paying. I know there's some kickbacks that go on, I'm sure. I'm not confirmed, I'm just speculating. But some of the prices that I've seen are like, how are you charging that amount of money without, we always have to hire you? Like, come on. I don't know. I don't trust a lot of people until I can trust them.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, until I see the real numbers.
Especially when large sums of money are
Yeah.
involved and
And
it's
it's
your
your
money.
Yeah. I'm like, does this foundation really cost 65 grand? Like, seems high. Can we get another bid, maybe? Nope, this is my guy. Okay. I mean, the numbers on the back end make sense, so you can only question it so far. Like, do you want to really cause a delay and piss off your builder and when foundation's being poured?
Right.
No. Am I going to pay another 10 grand? Maybe. But it's less headache.
Yeah. All right. And then,
Never a bad idea to get more quotes, though.
yeah.
Not necessarily behind your builder's back. If you've hired a GC, trust that they're going to do the right thing.
That'd be a little awkward.
Yeah, the first build that we did with him, I asked him for permission to get another quote on lumber. He was like, sure. He's like, I like these people, but that's fine. And it was like same price, like $1,000 off.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you're your guy. I can trust you now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we've got the woodworking. So, started as a hobby in 2020.
Yeah, I've always been interested in it. Like in Texas, I just bought really basic tools, just like the normal DIY guy in my house when I was 23, 25. And I really enjoyed it. And so built random stuff like cubbies and a lot of like garage shelving, just really, really basic construction grade material stuff. And then when we moved to Phoenix, it wasn't until 2020 when COVID happened. I was working with my dad full time, and we were like, okay, well, I shouldn't come to the office anymore. I don't know what we're doing. And then finally, after a couple months of literally just like sitting on the couch, like, because now my wife is working in my office, and so I take my computer to the couch pretty much every day. And there's not a lot, like, a lot of my work at my dad's house was, some days it was fully computer stuff, and some days it was like, hey, I need help putting this up in the garage or something. So I was more like just kind of house maintenance too, which I still am to this sometimes, but I don't go there anymore. And I was like, well, I like woodworking. I got a little extra space in the garage. What can we do? I was like, okay, well, if I buy nice tools, big tools, I need to figure out a way to not spend, like, I need to figure out a way to write them off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I gotta start making something. So I started making cutting boards, and they're super basic. But the cutting board requires like every skill, every tool in your garage that you can imagine. Like, you got your table saw, your joiner, drum sander, planer, miter saw, sander, everything. And so I started making cutting boards, and I think between like September and December, I made 90 cutting boards.
Wow.
A lot of them custom orders. The majority of them custom orders, I think.
Yeah.
Where were you
And
selling them?
literally word of mouth, 100%.
Really? So 90 in, was that 3 months?
Yeah, it was nuts.
That's insane.
I could not get out of the garage. It's terrible. But it's like, and then I was able to like upgrade my tools. So like I started out with a Grizzly table saw, and I basically bought, when I got into it, I found this guy on Craigslist that was getting out of woodworking, and I was like, I'll take everything. So I got a bunch of tools. I was like, okay, what do I do with these? And then you finally sift through them. You're like, okay, I need this, I don't need that. And then I sold some. And then as I would sell some, every time I sold one, I'd upgrade it. But basically, like, it was so I could write them off. So I had to build stuff to sell. So I started making cutting boards, and then did a lot of like, I did a big table for our dining room. I did a chandelier out of live edge mesquite, and just like super custom stuff. And then like a big barn door. And finally, it just got to people like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? I was like, sure, can try. And then that turned into a little welding, and so I'll make table bases and bases for any project I have.
Your brain does not stop.
No.
That's
and
awesome.
I really enjoy it. Like, it's a lot of fun. Sometimes it's frustrating. Like, I'm kind of over the cutting board thing. I like making cool ones, but just like I won't make one just to make one anymore. I used to just make them to make them.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like, I need someone to order them to make them, because they take a lot of time. They take way more time than you can charge for them.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like, if I had overhead, they're not affordable to produce or sustainable.
Do you have a standard charge for those, or is it a case-by-case basis, or
Yeah,
how does that work?
It's standard based on size.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would pricing look like?
I charge 40 cents per cubic inch.
Okay.
So if you take length times width times height times 0.4,
okay.
it's pretty much right around that for a very basic one. And then as they get more complicated, like, you add juice screws, you add handles, you add feet, you add you want it double-sided, like circle, start going up. Then you get into end grain, which is where you make a cutting board twice, essentially. So you take a nice cutting board, and then you cut it up again, cross-cut it, and then you glue it back together, sand it, all this crap.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes out pretty cool. End grains are really cool.
And is that usually where you're doing several different kinds of wood so
Yeah.
that it has that checkered pattern all throughout it?
Yep.
Nice.
Those come out awesome.
Yeah.
But they're a pain to sand. They're just, the end grain is just super hard to sand.
Yeah.
So
I hate sanding.
yeah,
It's the worst part.
it is.
Because I'm so anal about it too, so like I want it to be perfect.
It's the worst. I spent all day yesterday sanding. But the boards are done, they're shipped.
Nice.
Yeah. Shipping rates right now, freaking insane.
Yeah.
To ship 17-pound box to Oregon, guaranteed if I just said UPS ground, it was $45 for a cutting board.
Really?
17-pound cutting board?
Yeah, probably 14. It's big. I'm telling you, they're big.
Oh wow.
They're
are they-
paying to
What are they cutting on these things?
Bears.
Like boars?
Everything.
Like full-size animals?
This is one of my better customers. He probably has 6 or 7 of my boards.
Really?
So
That's how you know you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
he loves them. He buys like a couple of probably buys them for gifts for people. But I'd say the stuff I like to do woodworking is just the custom stuff. People come to me and like, hey, this is what I want. Dining room tables would be my all-time favorite. I don't make very many of them, but
And since they're custom, I'm assuming
They don't.
price per project with
Yeah.
that, because you can't just be like, all right, here's
I
the price
try
per foot
and-
on that.
Try and estimate my time accordingly, but it never is good. It's always more.
Do you have a
Does that
wobble?
sound familiar?
Yeah. Do you have a wobble-free guarantee?
No. I have you just come back to me if you got a problem.
Because I feel like that would be the most. Is that one of the more difficult things with the table is to make sure like it's even, like on
Yeah.
all sides and level.
But you just get little feet.
Oh, okay.
I'm good.
The adjustable
Yeah.
screws in.
Feet save everything.
Yeah.
Although one of the boards I made,
So you probably had somebody where they're just like, I just want it pure wood.
I did a solid white oak one.
Yeah.
But I put feet in the bottom. On the bench too. Because their floors are never even.
Ever, yeah.
Find a good flooring guy.
Yeah, it'd be way too much money for a spec home, but
Yeah.
you could find that guy to get it perfectly level
You gotta have feet.
for Mason's table that he wants no feet in.
I didn't say no feet. Are they good feet? Not the cheap ones?
I would always do feet because then you can slide it. You're not gonna crack the wood or chip it because you're gonna chip it on tile.
Yeah, no. Used to have an end table on the old house it just had no feet. It was kind of small, but I was like, I wish it had something to adjust because my floor is totally uneven and it wobbled, and no purpose to have an end table that wobbles.
No. That's why you got the feet.
Mm-hmm.
Learned a lot that woodworking is about how you can fix mistakes too. That was like how to fix stuff.
Yeah.
Because then nothing really ever comes out perfect the first time. Like you have all of a sudden you're sanding through it and then there's a check right through the wood and you're like, what the fuck? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
I'm almost done.
But that's kind of, people like the imperfections of wood too, though.
Depends.
You know,
Some do, some don't.
how'd you get the check out?
You either have to cut it out or hope you can fill it with some CA glue
Yeah.
and that it doesn't show through. But
Those are the projects that frustrate you. Just about done.
yeah,
But then-
that was like the cutting board I was making yesterday. I didn't check to see if it didn't wobble on granite because granite's flat.
Mhm.
And it did a little bit, so I must have done something with the drum sander. Didn't get it completely flat because my technique in the drum sander is good enough, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
If I wanted it perfect, it would take me way longer, and I can typically get it good enough to where it doesn't matter. But this one seemed to have a wobble, so I had to sand it. I sanded it down to pretty much finished sand.
Are legs a no-no with cutting boards?
Feet?
The
feet.
feet?
Little silicone feet,
Yeah.
Yeah, those are helpful. I've had a few.
I feel like the moral of the story is there's a workaround and a fix for everything.
Yeah, and typically you don't want to have to work around stuff, but it's inevitable. Wood is going to move, no matter what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have one wood cutting board, I think, that Fulton Homes gave us when we bought the house. And it doesn't have anything on the bottom, and I hate it because it slides.
Slides, yeah. I can add some feet for you.
I already went and got some rubber feet that just stick to it.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And just don't wash it in the dishwasher or anything.
Yeah, I made this pretty cool coffee table with the top slides on okay. It has a lock and the top will slide out like a gun storage.
Oh, really?
But the lock is RFID key card.
Oh, I've seen those before.
And it's hidden under the coasters.
Mm-hmm.
So you slide the coasters over the lock, it beeps, and then you push the table top. And it slides on like these CNC hinges. Because I tried using normal drawer hinges.
Yep.
But they go bloop when you slide a big weight across them. Because they're supposed to go horizontal, not parallel to the floor. So I learned that too. That took me a long time. I have not made another. Don't know if I will.
Yeah, because you got to make sure it opens and closes and still stays flush the whole time.
Yeah.
And holds the weight.
I haven't talked to the customer. I do think about it. I haven't talked to them lately. I am interested to know if it still works.
Yeah. Wait till you close the business, then call and be like, "Hey, what?"
Yeah, I did a big circular dining table for them, and that's where I learned that you're supposed to, when you're cutting a circle with a router, you measure on the inside of your router bit, not the outside of your router bit. So when you want a 60-inch table, you don't get a 59-inch table. Yeah, learned that the hard way.
Oh yeah.
Had to make another.
Yep, because it wasn't bigger. Couldn't cut it down.
I love all the memes where you pull the measurement on the board for wherever you're going to go put it. You cut it, come back in, and it's like 4 inches short, and you're like,
yeah. What happened?
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been going for over an hour, and I really appreciate you spending all the time with us and even just being super honest with all the numbers and everything. We've got a couple quick questions for you before we wrap this thing up.
Yep.
Rapid questions.
Yeah. So what's the most impactful thing you've learned?
Never trust anyone.
What's your favorite movie?
Tommy Boy.
First character strength that comes to mind?
Respectful.
Best camper gear?
Ooh. Your stove. Good stove. Make sure you have a good stove.
And then where can people follow what you're doing or reach out to you?
Wandering Walden Designs, probably the easiest. Through my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Awesome.
All right. Am I supposed to say something?
I don't know. It sounded like you were going to.
No, sorry. I was reading to see. Sometimes he'll put things and it's like, I have to say something. Just double checking.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Until next time, I hope your hammer stays accurate, your Wi-Fi fast, and you work blessed. See you, everybody.
See ya.